Imagine this for a second. Half the population disappears, cities empty, fields go unworked, entire bloodlines vanish. It should have destroyed Europe forever. Instead, it made ordinary people richer than they had ever been. Not kings, not nobles, farmers, workers, survivors. This is the uncomfortable story of how the deadliest pandemic in human history accidentally rewrote the rules of wealth. Before the Black Death, life for ordinary people was brutally predictable. Europe ran on feudalism. Land belonged to nobles. Power flowed downward, and peasants had almost no leverage. You were born into labor. You worked the same land your parents did. You paid rent, taxes, and obedience. Wages were low, if they existed at all. Why? Because people were abundant. If you refused to work, someone else would replace you. Labor had no bargaining power. And then, everything broke. In 1347, the Black Death arrived, carried by ships, rats, fleas. Within a few years, 30 to 50% of Europe's population was gone. Entire villages vanished, fields were abandoned, workshops closed, cities echoed with silence. The system wasn't stressed, it was shattered. And in that collapse, something unexpected happened. Labor became scarce. For the first time in centuries, there weren't enough workers. Land still existed. Tools still existed. Demand for food still existed. But people didn't. And scarcity flips power. Survivors realized something dangerous. They were no longer replaceable. Farmers walked away from land that paid poorly. Workers demanded higher wages. Craftsmen chose better conditions. And for the first time, nobles had to compete. Wages surged. Records from England, France, and Italy show real wages doubling in some regions. Not gradually, rapidly. People ate better food, wore better clothes, lived longer. Landlords panicked because wealth had always depended on control of people. Now people controlled themselves.
The ruling class tried to stop it. In England, the government passed the Statute of Labourers. It capped wages, forced people back to work, made it illegal to demand more pay.
But laws couldn't reverse reality. You can't legislate abundance into existence. Labor was still scarce, and scarcity always wins. Land ownership began to shift. With entire families gone, land was cheap. Survivors inherited property, bought plots, moved freely. The rigid feudal hierarchy started cracking. Serfdom declined. For the first time, ordinary people accumulated assets, not just wages, and assets change everything. Guilds grew stronger. Skilled workers organized, controlled entry into trades, set standards and prices. Knowledge became valuable. If you had skills, you had leverage. The economy stopped revolving around land alone. It began revolving around labor and expertise. Cities transformed. With fewer people, urban wages rose fastest. That pulled workers out of the countryside. Urbanization accelerated. More trade, more specialization, more innovation. The medieval economy quietly evolved into something new, a wage-based system. Here's the deeper lesson. The Black Death didn't create wealth. It redistributed power. For centuries, elites controlled labor. After the plague, labor controlled elites. That shift laid the groundwork for the end of feudalism, the rise of the middle-class capitalism itself. None of it was planned. None of it was intentional. It emerged from scarcity. Fast forward to today. We still live by the same rules. When labor is abundant, wages stagnate. When labor is scarce, power shifts. Technology, automation, migration. These are modern versions of the same equation. The Black Death proves something uncomfortable. Economic systems don't care about fairness. They respond to pressure, and pressure changes everything. The plague was a human tragedy on an unimaginable scale. But from its ashes, a new social order emerged. Ordinary people gained leverage, mobility, choice, wealth, not because the world became kinder, but because the math changed. So the next time someone says history only moves forward through progress, remember this. Sometimes it moves through collapse, and sometimes the survivors inherit a completely different world. If this changed how you see wealth and power, hit like, Drop a comment with what surprised you most, and subscribe, because we're breaking down the hidden forces that shape history, money, and the systems we live inside. See you in the next one.